The tropics are very, very active this morning. Hello, I'm Mike Naso with the latest on Florence, Helene, and our tropical depression in the Atlantic Basin. I apologize, I'm suffering from a man cold, one of those late summer colds, so my voice is a little off, but I have a feeling I'm going to be talking about this a lot the next few days, so we might as well get going. This is Florence out here looking much better organized. It was a Category 4 hurricane. It's now a tropical storm. It's been one for about 24 hours, but it is forecast to continue westward and then curve west-northwest under building high pressure and strengthen right back into a hurricane, and then eventually a Category 4 hurricane once again, somewhere off the southeastern coast of the United States. There's still a lot of uncertainty where it goes. We'll talk all about that, but it's a very serious system. Behind Florence, we have two systems. This is a tropical depression, which is forecast to be another hurricane headed for the Lesser Antilles in about 5 days. And we have another tropical storm. This is Tropical Storm Helene, which is forecast to become a hurricane as well. And we now have hurricane watches out for the southern Cabo Verde Islands off Africa. A lot to cover. Let's get to the latest on Florence. Now here's the latest on Tropical Storm Florence as of 5 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time, which is also Eastern Time. From the Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, Florence was at 24.5 north, 54.2 west. Winds were 65 miles an hour. It's moving west at 9, and that motion is expected to continue through the next 24 to 48 hours, and then begin to accelerate towards the west, and then eventually the west-northwest by Wednesday and Thursday, taking aim somewhere here, it looks like, at the southeastern United States. And again, you can see it's a tropical storm now, but it is forecast to become a hurricane, and then a major hurricane, as it was before. I mean, remember, this was already a major hurricane, but it could be a very large and very powerful storm by the time Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday rolls around. And if I were anywhere along the Florida coast all the way up to New England, I would be hastily watching this hurricane just in case something happens quickly and you have to prepare. Here's the latest model guidance. You can see the current motion is west, but almost south of west, and a lot of these computer models are taking this thing pretty much straight west for the next few days. Not what you want to see south of Bermuda. I mean, this is a rare storm track. We want to see this thing turn. In fact, if you look at this black line here, that is the CLIP model. What that is climatology. So that means, on average, where would this storm go? Or a storm in Florence's position? On average, it would turn right out to sea. But we've had such dominant high-pressure ridging with this heat and lack of troughiness and cold fronts that it looks like there's going to be just enough ridging building back in to keep Florence moving straight on towards, say, North Florida to North Carolina right now. So it's still 5-6 days away, so you have a lot of time to watch it, but we've seen quite consistent models showing a landfall, and that's a very serious situation now. Okay, so now's the time to start to make your plans. There she is on the satellite imagery, the infrared, and you can see Florence is starting to get a little bit better organized. It's been undergoing some wind shear, but it's persistent. I mean, remember, at one point this was forecast to not even become a hurricane, and it became a Category 4 monster, and then it just got sheared apart, but that doesn't mean that they can't come back. You can see that center was kind of exposed, but it's wrapping up, and a little bit ominous there as you could see these clouds here fanning out in the direction that the upper level winds are going to go and take it, which is right on towards the west over the next 48, 72 hours. This is the Canadian model, which makes landfall in Georgia. Now, let me tell you guys something. You may not know this. Devastating Category 3 and 4 hurricanes hit Georgia. One was in 1893. It was called the Sea Islands Hurricane. It killed 2,000 people. It was very devastating, and it made landfall in Georgia. So 1893, and then they had another one in 1898, which was a Category 4 hurricane. So Georgia hasn't really been hit in, what is that, over a century. Because it's such a tiny stretch of coast and you normally get them turning north or going west. So if you are along the Georgia coastline, don't think you are immune from hurricanes at all. But that Canadian model there, wham, right into Georgia. This is the GFS model, and if I put it into motion here, you can see, one second, it shows Florence just plowing right into North Carolina, not to mention our tropical depression down here going into the islands and Helene heading on off to sea. So that would be very bad news. To say nothing of the European model, which has been consistent, slamming the South Carolina coastline with Florence, with our system entering the Caribbean and Helene out here in the middle of the Atlantic. So I'm telling you guys, this is crunch time here. We're getting close. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. You can see wind shear is going to be much, much more favorable. It's already starting to relax, and these blues here are very favorable upper level winds for strengthening for Florence over the next 24 to 48 hours, and then really favorable beyond that. And the water temperatures. You know, everybody was talking about this hurricane season, how cool the waters were, and maybe we would have less storms. But off the east coast of the U.S., we have very hot waters running well above normal, well within the range of developing a strong hurricane, and Florence is going to be just sailing right over them. So that is not good at all. You know, I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm just saying the pattern setting up here between the ridging and the westward movement and the wind shear and the waters, we could have a very powerful hurricane off the southeast coast of the U.S. by Wednesday or Thursday of this week, upcoming week. I have to touch on our other systems real quick. This is Tropical Depression 9. It's at 14.3, 35.4 west. Winds were 35 miles an hour. It's moving west-northwest very slowly at 5. We got a long time to watch it, but this is expected to be a hurricane nearing the Lesser Antilles of the Caribbean islands by the time Thursday comes around, and if so, it would be Isaac. That would be the name. And again, it could be further to the north, further to the south. Right now, if you are in the islands, Puerto Rico, begin to overlook your hurricane plans just in case this system gets stronger than what is forecast, which as of right now is a strong Category 1 hurricane. We also have Helene out there, which is strengthening much quicker than our depression. You can see there's the model guidance with our depression straight into the Caribbean islands, and maybe even further west beyond that. We'll have to wait and see what happens past 5 days, but it looks like it will get to the islands as a hurricane, which is a problem. There's Helene. We have the hurricane watch out now for areas of the Cabo Verde Islands because Helene could be a hurricane as it moves over those islands. This is one of the furthest east developing tropical cyclones we've ever seen. This puppy came off Africa and started spinning instantly. And so Helene is already up to 45 miles an hour, moving west at 13. This should become a potent hurricane, but it looks like Helene's going to remain out towards sea, which is great news, but not before impacting those islands off Africa. There's the satellite imagery. You can see our tropical depression here. This is forecast to be Isaac and become a hurricane towards the Caribbean islands. And this is Helene. You can see that's already looking like it's almost strengthening into a strong tropical storm. That should be a hurricane much sooner than our depression, but will likely remain much more out to sea. So that'll do it for this time. Florence, if you're in the eastern United States, the East Coast, overlook your hurricane plans. We're going to be zeroing in on it as time goes by, and we'll tell you where to expect landfall from what could be a very, very serious hurricane by mid to late part of next week. So I'm Mike Naso, and I will talk to you guys later.